on today's StoryBeat.
You know, every time that you hear somebody who is happy with what they're doing, or you think, if I do that, I'm going to sell books, or if I do that, not necessarily. You have to do what works for you, because if you don't love it, it's not going to work.
This is StoryBeat with Steve Cuden, a podcast for the creative mind. StoryBeat explores how masters of creativity develop and produce brilliant works that people everywhere love and admire. So join us as we discover how talented creators find success in the worlds of imagination and entertainment. Here now is your host, Steve Cuden.
Thanks for joining us on StoryBeat. We're coming to you from the Steel City, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. My guest today, Tricia Gardella, who is known as National Park Gramma, is the award-winning author of scores of children's books, including a 10-book Mouse Travelers series, which explores and promotes a love of national parks and monuments. I've read Mouse Visits Everglades National Park and can tell you it's a charming story, wonderfully illustrated, about Tricia's hero, Mouse, exploring the Everglades during a most engaging journey through the park, so that young audiences can get a sense of the beauty of the endangered species that live there. Tricia has had her writings published in Highlights magazine, been interviewed on Sacramento TV shows, and was featured in her local newspaper. She's a lifetime member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, as well as an active member of Women in Publishing, the Independent Book Publishers Association, and the Alliance of Independent Authors. Tricia's not only a celebrated author, she's also the matriarch of a large family and an entrepreneur who has run a half a dozen businesses, including an ice cream parlor, crafting, and ranching. After raising her family, Tricia earned her BA in Ancient History and Classical Archaeology at the tender age of 75. So for all those reasons and many more, I'm delighted to have the children's book author Tricia Gardella join me on StoryBeat today. Tricia, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Who was that person you were talking about?
I have no idea, but I think I'm talking to her. So let's go back in time a little bit. At what age did you become interested in books and writing and all of that kind of stuff that you wound up doing?
I got in trouble all the time for reading too much when I was a kid.
Too much?
Yeah, I did. I really got in trouble. I used to turn the light on the porch, and I could see it in, my bedroom. And I would be reading, and my mom would catch me, and I'd get in trouble for that. I got in trouble in classrooms because I'd put my book inside another book. And I love writing. I love what people can do with words. They're building something that we can see. And when it's done right, it's magic.
It is magic. There's nothing more powerful than words, I think.
Exactly.
What is the old phrase? The pen is mightier than the sword. So I think there's a lot of truth in that. Do you think of yourself primarily as a storyteller or an educator or an entertainer or something else, or a combo of all of those? How do you think of yourself?
A word player. My biggest thing is I hear people all the time say, where do you get your ideas? And I feel like, where don't you get ideas? It's just like I promised myself no more books except the Mouse series, because I have too many of them out there, and you just can't handle everything. Then the other day, it's been a couple months, I think now, but these words hit me in the head, and I love the idea of it, and it's turning into something that it's called body language. And it's about all the different parts of the body. It's only 300 words, but it's really, when an illustrator gets hold of it, it's going to be really an interesting book. Entirely different, though, from my mouse books.
Do you find that it's difficult to write that short, those little words, as opposed to being able to free form whatever you want to write?
I don't try. They tell me what to write, I don't go, I'm going to write a 300. When I was writing for Highlights, I did, because you could only write so many words. And that's part of the fun is when I write something, I write it. I just write it down. And then the fun part is trying to get it into fewer words or, different ways of looking at it or something like that. Rewriting is my favorite part of writing, I think. I mean, I love getting an idea at the beginning too, but I have to stop myself because I can't keep doing this.
Well, I think rewriting, as I've said many times on this show, and as I used to teach my students as well, I think rewriting is where the art of the whole thing comes. That writing is the craft. That's where you first establish it and make things what they are. But the revisions that's what makes it beautiful and artistic.
That's the fun part.
That's the fun part. I agree.
And the only problem is I will rewrite until I force it out the door. I always see something that I could change, or, maybe if I did it this way or whatever. And I've had times when the illustrator's doing the book and I look at it and go, no, it shouldn't be said like that. So she's wonderful and changes it.
It's relatively easy to change the words while it's in mock-up, I assume.
That's true.
Once it's out and published, there's not much you can do to pull it back. So how did you wind up writing books for kids in the first place? How'd that start for you?
That's really kind of funny how that happened, because when I turned 40, I said it's my turn. I'd raised kids, I'd helped on the ranch, I had done everything. And I liked I continued doing that. It wasn't like that stopped. But I just felt like it's my turn, and I decided that I was going to start writing because I'd always loved books and words. And we have a community college here. I live in a very small area, and we have a community college. So I just wanted to know if I had any talent. We all think that if we have a fun story or something, that we have the talent. And so anyway, I wanted to do that. And after I had been taking this class for a while, the instructor said, do you know that you write for children? I didn't intentionally go in to do it, but everything I write is mostly for a 7-year-old. And I now believe I haven't really gone beyond that.
Why 7? How did you arrive at that? How did that happen?
I never did, but that is what talks in me. I have a few that are for older. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, it was kind of fun. But the picture book to me is the magic. And what I like to do is write a book. And then it's like I am painting with words. And I never tell an illustrator what I envision. And the most exciting thing for me is to see what they illustrate and to see if they see what I'm trying to say. And I have had so much good luck. Usually they're better than what I had in mind.
They enhance your vision or whatever your vision was.
Well, you would not have a book if you didn't have an illustrator, a picture book. The illustrator's more than half.
You're not an artist. You don't actually do any of the drawings.
You wouldn't want me to be drawing. Yeah, I can't sit down and sketch something, or I've done some silly stuff before, but the one that I have right now for the Mouse series, she's just magic to me. She's responsible for me writing a series. I never wanted to write a series, and I fell in love with Mouse the first time I saw him.
That's interesting. So when you started to put this together in the first book, you didn't think you were going to write more than one.
Oh, no. It was called Absurd, Said Bird, and it was a bird that wanted to fly to the moon to get cheese, and he was going to get cheese for every farm animal if they helped him build an airplane. And, that's why Bird keeps saying absurd, because he knows you can't fly an airplane to the moon. But so the plane crashes at the end, and Bird swoops down and picks him up, and he says, we all know that you need a rocket to get to the moon. Mm-hmm. It left it open perfectly for me. I never thought about it at the time, but it was a perfect stepping stone, because this book is about a mouse that goes to national parks, but he doesn't go to a national park till the third book.
Interesting.
Book 2, he goes to a library and, all these things. They try to make a rocket work so that they can go to the moon, and they discover they don't have any fuel and they're animals, so how are they going to get any? So he gets depressed. And Bird tells him, this whole world, our whole world has wonderful places to visit. And he says, and there's a place called a library where you can maybe figure out what you want to go to. And that was the transition book, and it really just kind of fit in there. And I have said from the beginning, Mouse writes the stories, I just go along for the ride and do the rewriting.
Do you feel like you're taking dictation from Mouse?
In a lot of ways, I do. You know, I love researching. And so I'll get, if I'm going to do a park or something like that, I will come up with all these different things and just kind of throw them in a pile. And then you have to figure how it's going to work together, you know, because at first the only thing he could do was teleport using a keyboard. You know, he jumped on an escape button or something like that. And when he did the 6 monuments story, well, before that, in Yosemite, there was a wildcat that was coming after him, and he picked up this acorn, and he was going to throw it at it, and then he was whooshed home. And that happened to him all the time. He didn't know when he was going to be sent home. So he was whooshed home, and he didn't know this was a magic acorn until the next book. And so, you know, it's fun things like that. Now he can really move around because he knows how to make things work.
He's got the magic down a little bit.
Yeah, he does. He definitely has the magic down. And he's a fun character, and he meets a lot of other mice. That's one of the things we focus on, are the different breeds, because that's one of the things he started out with. And one of the fun things for me was in Carlsbad, when they go to Carlsbad, one of the reasons he wants to go there is he thinks that he's related to bats. He thinks that they look so much like mice that he's related, and finds out that bats are more closely related to humans than they are to mice.
Well, that's part of what you've done, is you've gone in and exposed for children all of these scientific and natural facts.
Exactly. And at the back of the book, we have questions, and I almost always do author notes because, you know, I like to share why I did what I did sometimes, or something about mice, or I don't know what I'm going to share. Was there a point when you started to do these books when you thought these are really good? Was it in the first book, or did it take a book or two before you thought this really will work? Probably by book 6. I lived near Yosemite. And so when I did the Yosemite book, I mean, that was really exciting. Mm-hmm. I made myself wait, though. We did Acadia before that because my illustrator lives near Acadia. She lives totally across the country.
Right.
You know, that was fun. That has really been fun for me. But I'll tell you what's really becoming fun. You said we have 10 books. We're working on the 13th right now. Well, we just kind of keep cranking them out, and we're both, you know, getting up there. So I guess that's why we keep doing it. But
and how do you decide which park or area to visit or monument? How do you make those decisions?
I might come up with an idea, like the last one that I just did, or the one that Ginger's working on right now, is that our first people visit cultural sites. And it's about, you know, our Native Americans, basically. And there was a limited, really, I mean, there are a lot of archaeological sites for the Native Americans. So I had to really get choosy on what I did. But that was really exciting. And what I like about it is I could put 7 parks in there, because we have over 63 national parks in this country, and there's no way I'm going to be able to write all of them.
How many have you visited?
20.
You visited 20 of 63.
Uh-huh.
And do you plan to, are all the books places you've visited, or some of them from just research?
No, and I'll never, I'm not traveling as much anymore, or very little anymore, so, and I'm disappointed, but we've got parks like the Arctic. It's huge, and doesn't even have a road into it. So, you know, we have parks that are out in the middle of the ocean that, you know, they're not part of our 48 or anything, but...
Well, this I'd never heard of before. There are parks out in the ocean?
Oh, yeah, several. And right now, don't ask me the names of them because my brain is not...
Well, like I said, I didn't know that there were parks in the ocean.
There are a lot of them. I say a lot, but, you know, maybe 7. I can't remember.
Are they're underwater then?
No, there's little islands, or I don't know if any of them are underwater. I don't think so. I think...
So they're all islands out in the middle of the ocean.
I should have studied so I could tell you that, because I didn't even think I was going to talk. I don't know that I'll ever do one, because there are, you know, I look for things that really would interest mouse too. And the book that's coming out in August, which is coming out the week, National Park Week is in August.
Well, we're having this conversation in 2026, but these shows will be around a long time. So August of 2026, this book will be available.
The reason that we're holding off on it, it's finished. The reason we're holding off on it is it's a Christmas book. And I was thinking one day, it would be fun to do something for Christmas. So I did some research, and, they had decorate the tree and everything. But one of them mentioned something about the 12 days of Christmas. And I went, oh my gosh, if that isn't perfect. And Mouse visits 12 national parks every day before Christmas, one every day before Christmas. And it is so much fun because it's parks that I would never have done a book on, but, we've got good illustrations and fun things to look at.
So I'm curious, you at 75 graduated from college with a degree in classical archaeology and ancient history. How does that play into the books, or doesn't it?
The research.
The research.
But, you could do that anyway without that, but I've always loved that type of research. I started, I was going to be an archaeologist when I went into college, and that was a long time ago. I'm glad that I didn't finish until now because it has changed so much you wouldn't even believe it.
Sure.
50 years. I think it's 50 years.
Do you do most of your research online, or do you go to a library, or where do you do your research?
I do most of my research online anymore, or at least just get ideas of where to look or whatever. And, for this type of book, you don't need a ton of research. You want to be right in what you say, and you want to know more than research. I'm looking for things that I can use that'll make it fun for Mouse. Not fun for Mouse, but fun to read about Mouse. Because I truly believe the most important thing in the world is that a book be fun and what kids like to read, and then you just bury what you're trying to show them in there and they don't even notice. That's what I believe. So,
in what I read about you, you say that you're still chasing curiosity. I'm just curious, in my own curiosity, my own curious way, what is it that makes you curious most today?
Before COVID, I truly did not have much hope. I probably as an archaeologist and what I studied, I just felt we would go extinct. And I know how many times the world has almost totally gone extinct.
Of course.
And so I thought, we're doing it to ourselves. That's what I was feeling. And now I have hope again. I see all these things that we're doing medically, and I see all these. It won't be in my lifetime, but I have grandkids and great grandkids, and it'll be their lifetime. Things that we have, it's called HCM that runs in our family. And I have it, my son has it, his son has it, and his daughter.
What is that?
It's hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, it's called. And it's the enlargement of it's really not the enlargement, but it's the ventricles don't work right. And that's what pushes all the blood into the rest of your body. So, it's kind of nice to have it working right.
Yes, it is.
I've lived really well. I didn't think I would still be here at this age. My husband died 9 years ago, and I'm still here. And I would never have dreamed that. So I think I'm meant to finish this.
Well, you're on a mission, and
Yes.
what do you think your mission is? What is your purpose?
My mission, I didn't start out to do this as my mission, but as I got into it, I realized I want people to understand the importance. Most people don't think too much about national parks, but they are so important because they're giving us little corners of the world of how it was before humans took over, and it's also a place where I think that you feed your soul when you go places like that. I have a hard time now because so many people do like them that they get really way too many people in them. So it's not. When I was a kid and we would go, nobody was there. It was fabulous, and I feel terrible that it isn't that way for everybody now.
They've become a victim of their own success. because they're extremely attractive to many people.
They are.
And that is an ironic way is hard on the park.
Well, and populations increase. When I was in high school, I remember they told us that, I forget what the number was, but we did not believe that there could be that many people. And now look at it. It's like, oh, well, especially living in a small area too,
And it keeps growing. The populace just keeps getting bigger.
Well, of course it does.
So you say, in reading up on you, that the best adventures often begin with the simple question, what if? And I'm curious, what are your most prominent what ifs of today?
Well, I've got a book called Middle C Learns a Music Lesson.
Okay.
He's sick of it. He's caught in this. There's a little boy that's learning how to play an instrument, and he's caught in tuba or whatever. I don't remember what was drawn, but anyway, he's caught in there, and he's just had it. And he goes on strike. He's not going to do this anymore, and he leaves. And music everywhere, in the world or around there where they are, everybody's just sick because nothing sounds right and everything, because you can't live without a middle C, or a C. And so that's a what if, what if music, when even one note goes away?
What if we had no music or sound or anything like that? That would be a very different world we'd live in.
It would be.
We know that there are people that don't have hearing, unfortunately, and they live in a slightly different world than those of us that are gifted with having hearing. And so that what if is a really good what if. What if we didn't have sound? What if we didn't have music? Do you test your books out on your 7 grandchildren and great-grandchildren?
Occasionally. Everybody's really, they all live right here. So I see them quite a bit, and yes, they love them, but that's how I got started on this. I did a book for each one of my grandchildren and great-grandchildren, and then for my kids too. And the very first book I ever wrote was called Just Like My Dad, and it was I wanted to show that ranches were a real thing. It wasn't cowboys and Indians and all that kind of stuff. And
you grew up on a ranch, right?
I didn't, but my husband did.
I see.
And I grew up by ranches, but I didn't grow up on a ranch.
So you weren't unfamiliar with ranches as a kid?
No. I wasn't. I wasn't as familiar as I am now. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, the greatest joy for me was when my grandkids. This was written and published. HarperCollins published this. It was my first book. It was written and published before I had any grandkids. And when they got to be around 2 years old, it was the favorite book of each one of them. And that was the greatest joy of my life. That's much better than, selling them.
Is having your kids, grandkids, et cetera, really like what you've done. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's not the way you test a book, because, of course, they're your family. They like everything you do.
Well, how do you test a book?
I'm not exactly sure. I think that, I've been writing long enough that I get a feel that, nope, this isn't going to work and I don't want to work on it anymore.
Oh, so you've abandoned stories and books then?
Oh, yeah. A lot of them.
Interesting.
But there are other ones that say they have to be written. They won't let go of me until I at least rough them out. I at least have that. I don't know how you know for sure. There, in this day of indie publishing, which I love, I've done both traditional and indie, and I love indie because I have more control. I guess I'm just kind of a control freak.
Well, you test it, I guess, ultimately by putting it out into the world, and you see what kind of reaction you get. Unless
you're, marketing, there are 4,000 books a day, and it's probably more than that now, that Amazon publishes. 4,000. And you are competing against them. And I've always said, well, since I got into this, it's like taking a glass of water and throwing it in the ocean. Nobody sees it.
That's a true thing. Well, even for the big publishers, they can put all their marketing might behind something. And if, there's so much competition that it's difficult. Do you think about doing things that try to get attention, or what do you do? Do you do anything at all?
Okay, so when I got into this, and it's been 4 years, It's been 4 years, I think, in March. When I first read about it, it said it took 5 years. And I've had several businesses, so I know that it takes 5 years. And it usually takes longer than 5 years. And I truly believe that it wasn't going to take me 5 years to do this because, I'd been around. I knew how to write and that kind of stuff. And I'd had good friends, helpers. We got together and critiqued and that type of thing. And here it is, year 4. And I'm just barely. Right now, we are on a major mission. And if there are any teachers out there, I want you to pay attention because I'm doing a giveaway, and 4 teachers will get $250 apiece for classroom supplies. And I'm hoping they'll use them to talk about mouse and national parks, the importance of national parks. But, and then the rest of the people that aren't teachers, because only teachers can go for that. But the other ones, one of them will be 10 books of the mouse series. And then I have knitted a bunch of blankets this year. And so as National Park Gramma, I'm giving away a book and one of the blankets. They just have to go to my website and sign up, but I don't know that it's totally ready yet. It's almost there. It will be in August.
I'm wondering how you became National Park Gramma. How did you get that name?
A couple people started calling me that. I'm not, I looked it up to see if I would be intruding in everything, and I don't see that there's anybody that cares. So that's how it happened, and I qualify. I've got 7 grandkids and 7 great-grandkids. So I figure I qualify.
And you're writing books for hopefully thousands or millions of kids.
100 would be nice.
100 would be nice. So you've also written all kinds of books for kids, not just the Mouse series.
Yes, I have.
I'm wondering, have any of your books, including the Mouse series, ever been considered for turning into an animated feature or a TV series?
No.
No.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I truly believe that this national park book that I did, because it's good. I know that it's good. I have never heard back from any park. Well, that's kind of a lie. A park ranger up here wrote back to me, and one other one, I think. But I don't hear from anybody. Marketing is the hardest. Writing is the easy part of this.
Of course it is.
Oh, because, when I was back in the 90s when I was publishing, there were people that sold all the books, and it was, you didn't do anything and you got money up front. Well, my illustrators get paid, but I don't.
So none of your books are illustrated until after you've written them. You don't ever do them in concert with an illustrator.
No, never. And I don't think I'd really be good at that. I'm a control freak. To a point. Like I said earlier, I don't want to tell them how to illustrate. I want them to see my words and see what they see.
So you don't write in the writing that you turn over to them. There's no description of how you're expecting the drawings to be.
Very, very rarely. Once in a while, if there's nothing that talks about it and it needs to be in there, I will put a little note.
Well, how often do you get a drawing back and it's just completely wrong? Does that ever happen?
Not really, but okay. So let's an example right now is mouse lands right next to a muskox almost, and he didn't look like a muskox to me. I thought he looked more like a buffalo.
Okay.
So I did mention that, and in about 12 seconds, she had it fixed.
Well, that's part of that collaborative process.
Yes.
It is a collaboration since you're not doing the drawings. You must employ someone else.
It very much is. And I think she's my biggest cheerleader. She loves mouse as much as I do. And she promotes it. She promotes better than I do, so, and she doesn't get it, she's been paid. She's just doing it because she loves him, I guess.
Well, that tells you that she has a passion for doing it, and there's no substitute for that, no matter how much money someone's getting paid.
Exactly, and I think that is very special to me.
So let's talk a little bit more about Mouse. How did Mouse come to be in the first place? Where did the inspiration for Mouse come from?
Well, it came because I had done that book that was called Absurd Said Bird. When the first illustrations came, because she sends, every Friday, she sends me whatever she's finished up on to look at. And, I can say whatever I want or, that type of thing. The minute I saw him, I just went, I got to do more books. I mean, I just fell for him. And I've got some really, 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 really cute characters in a lot of my books, but this one, he just grabbed me.
Well, the drawings are charming. I mean, it's
They are. They're charming, but they're not over charming.
they're not cutesy. They're charming.
They are, and we get lots of almost my books almost get 5 stars for every one of them, and still I don't know how to promote them. So I want people to know that it's not easy.
Well, hopefully by doing a show like this or others, that people will find out about it.
Maybe.
Well, we'll see.
And I've got a lot of things going on. This whole summer will be devoted to Mouse, and I have a personal assistant right now, and she's really magic. So we'll see. At least it's getting into social media. And when you got 30 books, this is why I don't recommend that anybody do things the way I did them, because you can't keep up with everything.
You're creative and you want to keep churning stuff out.
I had all those grandkids that I wanted books for and that kind of thing.
So Mouse and the books that Mouse is in, or are in, show that a little person, a little character, a little mouse can do great things, and that people can have their own voice no matter what their size or their strength is. Is that what you hope people will take away from the books?
Exactly. And that's, I think it was Ginger really who pointed that out to me. She says that's the greatest joy about Mouse is it doesn't matter how big you are, it's how determined you are. And, I love that. I love that we're trying to protect and preserve national parks, because especially right now I'm worried because financing has been cut way back. And,
yes,
I don't know. I just think that if I'm out there with a whole bunch of stuff that I can keep throwing out, because I have these little cartoon creatures of me that Ginger did too as National Park Gramma. And some of them go out and tell about national parks or different things. So now I've got somebody that will get them up, because I wasn't.
Are you going to publish books based on National Park Gramma?
No.
But you could.
I know it. Somebody said that to me, and what else did they say? There were a couple of things, and I thought one of them really, really, really caught me, and I went, no, you are not doing.
You don't want to be the star of your own show, do you?
No. Well, that's how this got, that's how National Park Gramma got started. I had someone that was telling me that I needed to do these reels, and I was reading, I would share things. I don't like that, especially for me. I enjoy watching some other people. I got good response and everything, but I went, who cares? Why would they want to watch me? But when National Park Gramma came in, it's an entirely different world, and I can promote her like crazy.
Well, and you should promote her, because that promoting National Park Gramma will help promote Mouse and vice versa. And it's all of a piece, I would assume. I think that you are reflecting yourself, I think, in Mouse, in the sense that you're not a big, powerful, famous person, but you have a voice and you're expressing that.
Exactly.
And so that if that's Mouse, in a way, I guess you.
Yeah, well, maybe. I wish I was that little.
Why do you wish you'd be that little?
I don't know.
You could crawl into all kinds of spaces.
Yeah.
What other values do you hope to impart through the books? Are there other values?
Each book has its own values.
Interesting.
I mean, each park is different and has things for them to learn or things to think about. As far as values, I don't know. It's like some of our caves, what's in them is important. And those are some of the values I think that we need to keep in mind.
Well, you've been in business many times, and Mouse is not in business. His business is visiting these places.
Right.
But he's an explorer. Do you think of yourself as an explorer as well?
If you're a researcher, you're an explorer.
That's true.
And that's basically why I studied what it is, because human development fascinates me.
In what way?
Just what we have become. I see these things on Facebook. They know I like certain kinds of things, so they throw this stuff there, and then I read it. And there was a chimpanzee, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but what he was doing was very human-like, the caring and everything like that. And, I realized that this is basically what we came from, and then look how we have developed, and it's been a fairly short time, and we don't stop doing it, and look at how crazy we've become. I remember thinking that my grandmother saw so much in her lifetime, so much change. So have I.
As have I. We've seen a lot of change.
It's amazing that what humans can do.
Let's relate that to Mouse Visits Everglades National Park. What are we learning in that book about changes and what's happening? How's that reflected in the book?
Everglades used to be huge. It was a huge thing, and it was the water just kind of flowed through these grasslands. And, it's really small now because they've made it so that they can build houses on it and everything. Thank God that they got it when they did. It's the only national park that was preserved simply because of ecology. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's what I like the most about it. It also has our largest, not seabirds. In
the park, you mean?
Yeah, the populations, and especially they come there to have their babies.
Was it like herons or egrets?
Yeah, they're all kinds. Mm-hmm. And so that was fun to do. The other thing that I really, really liked was I wanted to have him run across Bird again. And Bird had gone off on a migration when Mouse went to the library. And he hasn't seen him for quite a while. Here's Bird in this group of... And Bird tells him, he says, you know what I saw right over there? That's where they launch rockets. And so Mouse is so excited about that. It was book 11. Now that he's got this acorn that's magic, he teleports himself to Canaveral National Seashore. And it's a park, too. From there, he meets a mouse, and from there, they teleport to Kennedy Space Center. So it's entirely different. They learn some about the seashore area, but they learn stuff about Kennedy Center, too. One of the things that he realizes while he's there, because the first thing that he looks at and he says, no wonder our rocket couldn't go to the moon, because how huge these rockets are that take them to the moon. And he's trying to find a way to get in there because he wants to go up, even if it's just to the space station. And then after there's a ranger that comes and is talking to a group, and one of them asks if there are ever animals that get in there, and he says you wouldn't want to unless you were wearing the right or put in the right cages or whatever, because you wouldn't survive, So Mouse realizes he's never going to be able to go to the moon, and he's fine with it.
It seems to me one of Mouse's great qualities is that he doesn't give up. He has stick-to-itiveness and a drive.
That's the main thing with Mouse. That's what I probably love the most. He's little, but yet he never gives up. He doesn't sit down and say, the world's against me, and he just turns around and finds another way to do it. Mm-hmm. Or he goes and does something else. Maybe that one isn't going to work.
The other thing that I notice is that he seems to have no problem taking life the way it comes at him. So he doesn't have a problem taking a journey one way or another. He's curious about lots of things. And so he's also good at taking detours, yeah?
Very good at taking detours. And I think that comes from me because I truly believe that detours, life is what happens while you're making other plans. And I've always lived by that. And detours sometimes are the best road you could take because they're magic things that happen on detours.
Give us an example or two of, for you, what has happened when you've detoured and had a great experience.
It's too late in the day. My brain doesn't work.
Where have you traveled to? Where have you gone on journeys and discovered things?
I've never been to Asia. And I wanted to go, and then COVID hit. We were ready to go, and COVID hit. And then after that, I had, medical issues, so it slowed me down, and I don't think I'm ever going to get to Asia.
I assume you've traveled all over America.
All 50 states.
All 50 states, wow.
And after my husband died, I drove from California all along the south, all the way up the East Coast and all the way across because I just needed to.
And what did you discover along the way that was a surprise to you?
Nothing was a surprise. I had been across most of them, but there were two, Delaware I'd never been to, and I'd never been to Florida, of all places. Mm-hmm. And so I had to make sure that I got to those two. Those were two things. My sister lives in Georgia, so that was one of the reasons that I went over.
That's nice.
But it's a magical thing. There's so much in our own country.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at is what did you discover on your way that was magical? Like what mouse goes through?
Well, alligators and crocodiles and let's think what else. A different kind of ocean than the Pacific Ocean.
Well, the Atlantic and the Pacific are very different bodies of water.
They are. They are.
Very different.
And what else did I do? I spent quite a bit of time in... my family is originally from... he came from England, but from... not New Hampshire. Yeah, New Hampshire. And so I went there kind of looking. I kind of followed that trail back, and I wasn't headed anywhere special. I just wanted room to think and look.
You were taking the world in as it was.
It was, and I feel the same way. You were talking about me graduating when I was 75. Well, I took my courses through the University of Leicester.
Oh, is that right?
My daughters and I were in Greece when I found out that they were graduating the day after we were supposed to be going through England. So I changed the day. My kids said I had to go, and I got to graduate. So that's pretty cool.
That's really cool. If you're going to graduate from high school, from college, or graduate school, you only get to do those once, usually. So you may as well do it. Enjoy it.
It was pretty cool.
I no doubt, especially if you were in England for it, which would be very different from where you live.
And I've been there before, and I love it. My genetics are mostly British.
Oh, is that right?
I guess that's why I love it. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of great things to be said about England. I love England too.
Yeah.
And so they are in a large way responsible for America being America,
Exactly.
After we do speak English, though not the King's English. So there you go. I'm curious, do you edit your own books or do you hire an editor?
I don't want to tell you, but I edit my own.
Well, why wouldn't you want to tell me? If you edit your own, that's fine.
Because you should have somebody else look at them.
Well, I think in your case, the books are not, you're not publishing 120,000 words. So it's a little easier for you to see what you're doing in a relatively quick way.
It is, but that doesn't mean it's right. It's what's right for you.
I'm just saying that if you're a writer and you're editing yourself, and you can probably see things a little more readily than someone that's publishing a 300-page book. And so that's all I'm saying. Yes, you're correct. If you're a terrible writer, an editor would be a good thing.
Yeah, very good thing. I highly recommend it, especially in your early books, because editors can point out things. You don't take it personally. You go, okay, if that isn't working, how else can I do it? You need, and I had a lot of editing. I have a group that when we were involved with SCBWI, that we met before the conference every year and we were all picture book writers, and we would go over these books that were being published. And then we would read each other's. We sent them ahead to each other, and then we would talk about them. That was probably the best education I could have gotten.
How important to the development of the books is it that you had that feedback from those people?
Not. Okay. One of the things is everybody has their own opinions about things.
Of course.
And so you have to decide whether their way of looking at it is better than yours, or, the true way that you should be looking. I was told back in those days that you could not write a fiction book, and put nonfiction stuff in it. That was, no, you didn't do that. Well, that's all I write.
I don't know why anybody would tell you that. You can always write a fiction book and put nonfiction.
It's because that's what the publishers were taking.
It's what the market was demanding at that time. Got it. I see. Well, that's the way it works sometimes, and things shift around. And now I think sky's the limit, and everything is everything. And
that was the other thing that I learned not too long ago. Someone said, if people keep criticizing one thing over and over and over, or one, I don't know, maybe it's not just a thing, but usually that's your voice. And you have to think about, how you're going to use that. And, we all have a voice. We have to...
Absolutely.
We have to decide how we're going to develop that.
Do you think when you first started to write your books that you knew what your voice was, or did it take a while to develop?
You know what? My voice is what it is. So
it's always been there then?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I write for 7-year-olds.
Well, that's very, that's very fortunate that your voice has always been there. I know for me personally, it took me many years to figure out what my voice was. I was writing and in fact got paid to write, but I didn't really feel like I knew what my voice was. And then years into it, something clicked and I went, oh, I know what my voice is. I understand how to express myself as me.
I don't know that I could ever say that I knew what my voice was, but that's what I had to write. Mm-hmm. That's how I had to write it. That's what I had to write. Like I said, I could be a little stubborn at times.
That's a good thing, I think, to be stubborn. It means that you believe in yourself.
Well, I've got to tell you one that is interesting to me that I used to publish with Boyd's Mills Press, too, which is, in my day, it was the publishing house of highlights. So I have a book that was called A Banana Had a Farm. And I loved it because it sounds like a banana had a farm, like a banana. So I was excited about it. But A Banana's Farm, which was different, is that it had really different breeds of the animals. It had the same animals in it that Old MacDonald had different, like a Shar-Pei dog with all the wrinkles, and I'm trying to think of everything, an Angora goat with long hair, and the first one is a Jacob sheep, and Jacob sheep can have six horns, or no, 6 sets of horns, so here's the sheep with all these horns on it and everything. So I thought that was so much fun. I just loved it. And Ken said, no, we can't do that because these children are young and they're just learning about the first, level of animals or whatever. I don't believe that. Because you can always go back and learn that too. And so that's what I like about independent publishing is if I want to write A Banana Had a Farm about, all these different things, I can do that.
You're not answering to anyone. You're not having to be forced into something you don't want to do.
And it's getting good recognition, really good recognition. And the fun thing, too, is the illustrator for that one hit a banana in every page.
So A Banana is one name, A Banana?
Abe and Anna.
I was hearing A Banana, but it's Abe and Anna. That's funny.
Abe and Anna had a farm. I don't call it A Banana on the title because I thought it really would screw people up. But it starts out with Abe and Anna had a farm, and on their farm they had a sheep, a Jacob kind of sheep, and then it goes on. And the fun thing is it can be sung. And I've got another book that's called The Frogs Go Diving, and it's the same. It's a counting book for 10 10, but you can sing it to the ants go marching.
Oh, that's nice.
So those are fun too, for kids, but and they're fun stories. You don't have a fun story with them, but it's just, for me, it's playing. It's creating, and I love creating.
I think that's obvious. When I read the book on the Everglades, I think that you can tell that you're just playing. You're having fun. It's not a heavy burden or anything like that. You're having fun. You're playing with it.
Well, I'm not responsible for anything anymore. I don't have a family to raise. I don't have, I can play all I want.
And more power to you, that's for sure, Tricia. Well, I've been having the most marvelous conversation with Tricia Gardella, and we're going to wind the show down just a little bit. And I'm wondering, in all of these experiences you've had, and all the books you've published, and all the people you've met, and all the folks you've raised as a mom and grandma, are you able to share with us a story that's either weird, quirky, offbeat, strange, or just plain funny?
I think that probably, I started thinking about this the other day, and to me, I'm still laughing because when I first started this, I told you that I went to our community college and was taking a course and everything, and I heard that there was going to be a conference, but, just a little conference or something. So I went to it. It was an author we're talking, and this one author was standing up and telling exactly what she did, and she put things she filed them and she did all this. And I truly believed that I would never be able to write because I couldn't do the things that it didn't work for me. It would not work for me. So I thought I couldn't write. For one thing, she wasn't a picture book writer to begin with. And each genre has its own rules, but I think that was really kind of fun. And the other one that I think is kind of fun is this book that I was telling you about that's called Body Language. And it's one that built itself, but it's I call it my medical book because it turned into, it never started out to be about body language or something, but it turned into this, and it's about, like our lungs and our heart. And like I said, it only has 300 words in the whole book, but it is going to be a fun one. If
you are listening out there and you have interest in what Tricia's been talking about, I'm sure that the body language will be fun to read too. Especially 300 words. That'll be
yeah, you can do it.
You can do it in an afternoon or even sooner than that. All right. So last question for you today, Tricia. You've given us tons of very interesting things to chew on throughout this whole show and lots of good advice. I'm wondering, do you have a single solid piece of advice that you like to give to those who are just starting out and they come to you and say, how do you do this? Or maybe they're in a little bit trying to get to that next level.
Write what you believe, write from your gut. I think that's the most important thing. Learn how to craft it so that it is well written. You're not going to sell. It could be the best story in the world, but if it's not done well, especially in this day and age, you don't have a chance, I don't think. The other thing that I think that really is important is don't try to do everything. When I first started this, everything that I would listen to these podcasts, not YouTube or different things like that, I would listen to them, or I would listen to a podcast, or, read something, and everybody's telling you what they think, the way that you should do it, and this is a good thing. Well, some people are really good at one thing really well, but you can't do anything. And especially the way that I started writing, there is no way that you can handle 30 books at the same time. So I've had to focus on what I'm going to. My hope is that if people start liking Mouse, they'll look at what else I wrote.
Well, yeah, you have to write one book at a time, one bite at a time. You can't write 30 books at once. No one can. And so I think that's extremely true and quite wise that you have to take this sort of one step at a time and not try to eat the whole elephant at one time,
And that's what I did last year. I sat in on a lot of Zooms and I learned a lot. Every time that you hear somebody who is happy with what they're doing, or you think, oh, well, if I do that, I'm going to sell books, or if I do that, Not necessarily. You have to do what works for you, because if you don't love it, it's not going to work.
I think that's excellent advice. Tricia Gardella, this has been a terrific episode of StoryBeat, and I can't thank you enough for your time, your energy, and for your wisdom, and for turning out all these wonderful books for kids to enjoy and hopefully learn and grow from. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. I had fun.
And so we've come to the end of today's StoryBeat. If you like this episode, won't you please take a moment to give us a comment, rating, or review on whatever app or platform you're listening to. Your support helps us bring more great StoryBeat episodes to you. StoryBeat is available on all major podcast apps and platforms, including Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and many others. Until next time, I'm Steve Cuden, and may all your stories be unforgettable.